I the asshole for jumping off a train before the doors closed and abandoning my pregnant wife?
Oh, what?
I know the title sounds crazy. I'll try to explain this as best I can. I'm 29 and my wife is 25. She's also 5 months pregnant. Recently, we decided to go on holiday together. Nothing fancy, just to the coast, which meant we had to get a train. We had maybe 3 rolling suitcases and one of those army-style backpacks. There was no issue as we boarded the train, and we sat down and put the luggage next to us. About 20 minutes into our journey, we heard an announcement over the speakers that the train was being diverted, which meant it wasn't going to stop at the station we needed anymore. As it was saying this, the train was coming to a stop at the next station. I panicked and told my wife we had to get off or we weren't going to be able to get to where we needed. I got up and started grabbing our things and rushed off the train. I couldn't believe it when I looked around and saw she hadn't gotten off. She was trying to grab our 3rd suitcase. I had the other 2 and the backpack.
Oof.
Unfortunately, it was too late, and even as I rushed to the doors, they closed. My wife looked like she wanted to kill me, and the train pulled away with her on it.
4 days ago, I think I met my long-lost sister. Growing up, I was told by my adoptive parents that I was adopted at 10 months old. They're always open about it. They framed up a picture of me and my parents and placed it in my room so I would always remember them. They even track down their grave and take me there once every 2 years. We'll have a little picnic and they will ask me to share my achievements with my biological parents. They didn't change my last name to theirs and allowed me to decide whether I want to change it, which I did in my teens. I am now 27, a nurse, and I live on my own with my cat, just a few hours away from my adoptive parents. I have a neighbor, let's call her Anna. She's a marine biologist, married, and has 3 kids. We often chat when we bump into each other in the hallway, or her kids will come over to my place to play with my cat. 4 days ago, I got a knock on my door and it was Anna. Turns out her nanny went MIA on her at the last minute and it was already late for a close friend's wedding and was wondering if I can watch the kids for a couple of hours while they're gone. She asked me if I can watch them at her apartment instead since her youngest is sleeping. I grabbed my stuff and went over next door. We played dolls, played pretend, and ordered food and watched a movie after that. So I told the kids to keep their toys before the food arrived, and while we were at it, I saw something that made my heart drop. I saw a picture of my parents. They looked so much younger and it was a different picture from what I had. I asked Anna's kids if they knew who these people were. They told me that they had no idea who it was. My curiosity grew more and more. I texted my adoptive parents if they knew if I had any siblings. They told me that they were not too certain, but in the adoption profile, it stated that I'm alone and without any siblings. A few hours later, Anna got home. I was inquisitive to know and I couldn't wait any longer. I asked Anna who this young couple was. Anna told me it was her parents and they died when she was 6. She was then raised by her aunt. I was shocked. I feel like throwing up. This can't be real. I have a sister. I went home and did some social engineering. I went on Facebook and Instagram to see what I could find. I found the profile of an old lady I believe is the one that raised Anna. I see that she refers to Anna as her daughter, and I was looking at pictures and I found a rather similar picture to what my adoptive parents gave me, just without me in it. I called my adoptive parents, crying, telling them what I found. They drove for hours to come to me when I showed them, and the 3 of us cried together. They told me that I should let her know. I don't know if I should because it seems like she doesn't know that I exist. I gathered myself and yes, I spoke to Anna. I invited her to my apartment away from her kids so the both of us can sit down and talk about it. I showed her the picture that I have. She's as confused as I am. I told her that we might be sisters. I could see the tears building up at the edge of her eyes. She told me she wants to be excused. She left my apartment and I thought that was it. For a while, there's so much of what ifs. What if she's my cousin? What if the baby in the photo is not me? What if there was a mix-up at the adoption home? A few minutes later, she knocked on my apartment door. She brought her laptop, the photo of her parents, and her phone. We compared our pictures, and yes, they're the same person. I showed my birth certificate and how I changed my last name during my teens, as well as my adoption papers. I told her that I have a birthmark on the left side of my butt cheek, and yes, she remembered. We looked at each other and we started sobbing. She came to hug me and told me that at times she couldn't believe that I'm gone because she loves me so much. She told me how she thought I was dead and that broke her. She video called her aunt, the one that raised her. Let's call her Lucy. When Anna introduced me to Aunt Lucy, she looked horrified. She even asked if Anna got mixed up because she was pretty sure I was dead. We showed her my birth certificate and all the adoption documents, and once she saw there was evidence, she started crying and kept on apologizing. Aunt Lucy was hesitating at first, but we told her how we deserved to know the truth. Here goes the side of the story I never knew. Firstly, my parents died in 2 separate accidents. My mom and I met with an accident first. I was fine, but my mom suffered multiple injuries, and when my father got to know, he rushed to the hospital to meet my mom, but he lost control of the car and crashed onto the road divider. Both died at the same hospital, just minutes apart. What the fudge? She was then told that I died too. My sister got sick shortly after my parents' death and couldn't attend my funeral. My dad was a marine biologist, just like Anna, and my mom was a general surgeon. We have an uncle, let's call him John. So apparently, Aunt Lucy and Uncle John needed money. Aunt Lucy had lots of kids, hence she couldn't afford to raise both of us, while Uncle John and his wife were into traveling and could use some money for their adventures. I have no idea, but somehow they managed to get whatever our parents have left us and split it into 2. I was given to Uncle John, but he must have placed me at an adoption home and then fled the country. All the while, Aunt Lucy knew about me and how I was placed at an adoption home, but she chooses to keep quiet. A few years later, I was sent to the adoption home. Uncle John and his wife came back to the nursing to get me, but they learned that I was already adopted. It's sad to learn his motives were to receive government reimbursement while I was under their foster care. I felt extremely lucky to be adopted by a family who loved, cared for, and raised me like their own. My adoptive parents were a mature couple when they adopted me. They tried to conceive for so many years, but it failed, and so it resulted in me being adopted, and they told me it was the best decision they'd ever made. Anna is not speaking to Aunt Lucy now, and she told me how she felt betrayed and deceived all these years while denying a sibling love just for her own personal gain. She's even looking into taking legal action against both of them. Me and Anna embraced for a long time. There's a lot to catch up, and I'm excited that I'm an aunt to 3 beautiful kids. The feeling is foreign, but the feeling of being loved by a sibling is beyond words.
Am I the asshole for showing up to guys' night after my husband didn't come home when he said he would? My husband has been hanging out with his guy friends every weekend for about a month. It generally doesn't bother me at all, but lately he has been saying, quote, I will be home after this beer. And that 1 beer turns into 6, and him coming home in an Uber around 3 to 4 a.m. And well, I want to hang out with my husband. There's never any ill blood or fighting about it. I know he needs his friends as we are currently going through a stressful time and he needs to decompress. However, when he went out on Saturday, I told him, quote, if you aren't home by 8, I'm coming to find your ass. He laughed, said he would be home by 8, and that was it. Well, by 9, he still wasn't home. I knew this was going to happen, so I planned it all out. I'd already gone to the store and picked up a 30 rack, and this is actually kind of embarrassing, but I threw on some of his clothes, put my hair up, and put a hat on to make myself look more manly, and headed over to his buddy's house, where I knew he was. When I walked through the door, my husband starts dying laughing and bear hugs me. His buddies, I'm close to 3 of them, were also heavily amused and thanked me for the beer. There was no issue there. However, one of the guys that I don't know all that well lives next door, and his wife came over livid at like 2 a.m. and starts scolding him about being out so late, etc., etc. They have a baby at home, so it's 100% understandable. As soon as she saw me standing there, shit hit the fan even more. She started accusing him of lying about it, being guys' night. I did interject and say that I actually invited myself after my own husband didn't come home when he said, but she just put her hand up to me and told her husband to get home. I thought that would be the end of it, but my husband actually got a text from this guy yesterday saying that me showing up caused serious issues in his marriage and that next time he should tell me to, quote, stay the fuck home. My husband obviously laughed it off and said it isn't my fault there's issues in their marriage and that he was amused by me showing up. But now I feel utterly terrible. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for canceling vacation less than 24 hours in due to my kids' behavior? My husband and I have 3 kids, 9 male, 8 male, and 3 female. The boys have been driving us crazy. They fight like cats and dogs. We've had countless talks with them about respecting each other to no avail. I understand sibling rivalry, but it's gotten to the point it's disruptive to all of us every day. I already told my husband last week I wasn't sure if the vacation was a good idea. My husband shut me down pretty much immediately, and things went ahead as planned. First of all, the 3.5-hour car ride was, predictably, hell. Boys fighting and riling each other up the whole time. Husband and I kept trying to reassure each other that things would be better once we got there, and they would be too excited to cause trouble. We were wrong. They had so many reminders of what not to do once we got to the rental house, so they do everything wrong from the get-go. Shoes on the white furniture? Check. Running in the house? Check. I turned my back for 2 seconds, and the 8-year-old threw a box of chalk in the pool to keep his brother from getting it. We went out to lunch, and they were out of control in the restaurant. 9 male ran away from us in a strange place because he didn't get his way. We finally go to the beach, and they are frankly being brats, refusing sunscreen, fighting over toys, pushing their luck repeatedly, going further and further out in the water than we told them to, cursing. By the time we got back to the house, it was around dinner time, and I was fed up. They were totally ruining it for everybody. Nothing had worked, and I told my husband we needed to go home, for the reasons mentioned above, mainly that they needed to see a real consequence. My husband still insisted it would get better. I put my foot down and told him that I didn't even want to be there at this point, so either I was leaving or we all were. He got super pissed and told me it was ridiculous and unfair to our daughter. I actually agree with him, but saw no other choice at this point. Of course, when I tell the kids, they immediately burst into tears and are begging to stay, promising they will behave. My mother, who came with us, was also near tears. She thinks her precious grandbabies do no wrong. She argued with me too, begging me to, quote, just let it go. But I refused to budge. So we left, less than 24 hours into a 4-day vacation. Half the ride home was spent with them sobbing, and my husband pretty much gave me the silent treatment the whole way. My mother decided to stay behind a little longer, but then started randomly texting me about 30 minutes in, asking if I was serious. She knew I was, and told me the whole reason she came was to spend time with the kids, so I had now, quote, ruined it for everybody. And they're only little once. Here we are the following evening, and pretty much no one likes me right now except my 3-year-old. Are they right? Am I the asshole?
Am I wrong for laughing at my housemate when he suggested that I not shower on my period? I, 31 female, live in a share house, and one of the housemates, Jack, male 30, has never lived with a woman outside of his mother. But he likes to say he's aware of women's issues and calls himself a feminist. For instance, he doesn't agree with the saying, no uterus, no opinion, because he feels it's his job to be informed, as it would affect him if he becomes a father or a husband, which was fine until it came to this issue. So like most biological women, I have periods. However, I cannot use tampons or cups. I also, shocker, shower during this time. I prepare a new pad onto a clean pair of undies and shower as normal. Then dry myself off in the shower and step straight into the undies, and obviously check the bathroom for the mess. Jax never complained, nor has anyone else, so I figured my system was working. Well, cue today, and I can't shower for 48 hours. Am I wrong for laughing at my housemate when he suggested I not shower on my period? Today I couldn't shower for 48 hours due to a heart monitor test. I was jokingly complaining about how I was going to survive without my nightly shower, and Jack looked confused. That's when he asked, how is it different to when you're on your period? And I asked him what he meant. That's when he said, well, you can't shower on your period unless you use a tampon. And I laughed because I thought he was joking. That's when he said, wait, what do you do? And I said slowly, I shower. That's when Jack said, without protecting my bathroom, and mind you, he does not own the house, and went off. Apparently my period is unhygienic and it can cause infection if left on the shower floor. And he was under the impression that I hadn't been showering for a week when I had my period or using tampons. Now he's saying I'm banned from showering when I'm on my period, to which I laughed at. Now he wants me to bleach the shower every time, and that's unreasonable.